Next to me is the 2020 Lexus LX570 S. It's the latest enhancement to the third generation LX model range. Priced at 184,000 Australian dollars, this car definitely won't be for everyone, but it's stacked with features and it's got more off-road capabilities than most cars on the entire planet. So, what does the LX570 S like to drive? And does it live up to the eye-watering price tag? In today's video, we're going to find out just that.
Ryan Little.
Okay, so first things first, let's just talk about the front end on this car. It's pretty hard to miss, but the front grille is just insane. I mean, look how prominent that is. It's pretty awesome in my opinion. It's got Lexus's unique spindle grille design, which is on most of their new cars. So basically it has this spindle shape, and then the internals of the S model have this unique cross-hatch design, you would call it. And a few other extras it has over the standard LX is also the bottom of the bumper bar is different. So it has this extra line down here, which looks really cool. It does sit a little bit lower for someone if they're going to be going off-road, but I think it really finishes it off. And then you do have this venting in here, which is, unfortunately, it's not a real vent. It's basically just covered, but it does look really cool. Onto the lights of the LX, and this headlight is the same throughout the LX range, but it is a triple LED light. Most of the lights in the LX are actually LED as well. You've also got this daylight running light, so it lights up during the daytime. And then this little light below is actually your indicators. It looks really cool too. It starts at one end and shoots across, so it has sequential indicators, which is really nice. Moving on lower, we do have a fog light, and then we've also got this secondary light down here, which is a turning light. So at night time, if you're turning around a corner, it will shoot out the side of the car and just light up the entire left side of the car or right side at night. And it's a great feature. The only downside is it will only work at lower speeds, so you are limited to how that operates. But yeah, personally, the front end of this car looks unreal. So before we move on to this engine, let's just talk about the weight of this car. It weighs 2.8 ton or 6,000 pounds in weight. It's a big, heavy car, the LX. So Lexus do have this petrol V8 engine, which is a 5.7 litre engine. It's a massive engine, but it just lacks a little bit on power. It only has 270 kilowatts of power, which is a bit of a letdown. You would hope for a little bit more. But having said that, the LX does go okay. The downside as well, obviously being a big heavy car, is that it is a bit of a fuel guzzler. The LX loves fuel. So on average, I'm averaging around 20 litres or just over 20 litres per 100 kilometres of fuel, which is obviously not great, but you obviously would expect that being a V8 petrol engine. And the other thing is the actual cost of fueling up this car. It's a 140 litre tank or just under, and it costs around 220 Australian dollars to fuel up each time. And on average, I'm getting about 650 kilometers of range out of a tank. So it's not cheap to run. Lexus do offer this car in a diesel variant as well, which is a 4.5 litre diesel V8, which is better on fuel. It's actually the engine out of the Toyota Land Cruiser. So it is a better option in terms of fuel economy, but it's still a V8 engine. It's going to use fuel. You know, you'll average about 4 to 5 litres per 100 kilometres less on the diesel engine. But yeah, you know, if you were spending this amount of money, I think that the fuel cost should be a bit lower on your scale. You know, it's a lot of money to fork out, so the fuel is only a small portion of the car. In the future, there is talk of Lexus bringing out a V6 hybrid in this model, so it'll be interesting times ahead, and I'm sure the hybrid is going to be, you know, about half the amount of fuel. So let's hope they move to a more economic engine, and let's hope they lighten up the car in the process. So as I'm sure you can see, the LX570 is a big car. It's a massive car. It's just under 5.1 meters in total length. And one thing that isn't unique about this car is the car's height. So the car actually has 3 different settings for the height itself. And that is because this car runs on hydraulic suspension, which is very unique in the car industry. And it's something that Lexus has done for a long time now. They've had hydraulic suspension for around 22 years on the LX model. So with these heights, you've got a high setting, which is great for creek crossings. If you want to go through something where you need extra ground clearance, this is a great option. You also have a neutral setting. So with the neutral setting, it's obviously in between the high and the low setting. And this is the setting the car will ride on when you're driving around over 40 kilometers an hour. So it will automatically go to the neutral height. And then you have this low mode, which is great if you're going into a low car park where you need to have obviously less clearance. And now look at the difference it makes with the hydraulic suspension. So the car's on the high setting now. You can see the amount of clearance between the wheel and the guard. And you can also see how much higher the roof height is of the car. You know, I'm basically level with the car now. So the LX does have a nice rear end to the car. All the lights are all LED, and the boot on this car is a good size. So if we open up the electric powered tailgate, it does have 2 sections to the boot. So that's the top half, and this is the lower half, which is opened by this lever here. And then in the back, as I said, you've got a nice big boot. And these rear seats are actually electric, so they fold up into the side via these buttons on the side here. So how they work is, you basically just push either side, so you've got a right side at the top and then a left side here. So we're going to go ahead and fold down the right side. So I just push the front of the button and that will come down. So that part is nice and easy. The downside is the next part, which is actually a manual operating part of the seat, which will fold the back half of the seat up. So you've got to manually pull this up, which is actually quite heavy. Then that has a magnetic strap that clips into place, and then the headrest just comes up like that. To fold it down, fold the headrest down, and then you push this button here, and that will fold that down, and then you push that one, and then that seat will go back into place. Now this center row of seats does actually fold down, and the actual bases of the seats are electric. So by pulling this lever, the back of the seat will fold down. And what that does is it allows the whole base of the seat to lift up out of the way. So you can fold this seat right up and forward if you need the extra length in the boot. So now you can see the amount of space the boot has when you fold those seats up out of the way. Best thing is, and I have done it before, is the drive-in movie. So if I hop on in here in the back, I'm 6'4" by the way, so I'm not the smallest guy around, but great thing is, you've got loads of space. So if you can get yourself in the right spot here, it acts like a little chair, which is so comfortable. You know, I feel like I might just spend the night here, hey? Just to show you, let's see how elegantly I can get in and out of this car into this back row. So climb up here, slide in, isn't too bad. I think grandma and grandpa might struggle a bit there, but not too bad. This locks into place, and then this part will lift up. Surprisingly, it's not too bad. My knees are here in the back of the seat, but only just. I wouldn't want to be in this back seat for too long, but it would be fine for me going to dinner or something like that. Now, I'm actually quite surprised, to be honest, at the room. Like, I've still got a little bit of headspace. My hair is just touching the roof, but my head isn't, so it's quite reasonable. I've even got my own little cup holders here, so Lexus have just thought of everything, haven't they? They've done a great job. Now, let's just see how easily I can get out. I think this might be a bit of fun. Oh yeah, no, that's not a good time. Yep, but I'm out. Made it out. Alright, so here we are in the middle row of the LX570 S, and it's a nice spot to be. It really is. You've got these dual screens in the back on both rear headrests, and they're actually adjustable as well, so they do adjust up and down. The only downside is you can't remove these screens, so they are quite bulky, and you do have to be careful when you're folding the seats up and down. I have seen one of these screens break before, so just be careful and bear that in mind. You also have these built-in blinds, so they slide up and lock into place up here. It's really great for privacy, and it's great if you've got kids as well. You do have your own climate control in the LX. So the LX does have a 4-zone system, so you can control your climate separately in the back here, and you can also control your seats so they're heated and cooled. So both these front seats and both these rear seats are heated and cooled seating, so really nice. Now this row, another cool thing is it's electric. So on the side of the car, on the side of the seat, you'll feel these buttons, and they will actually slide the seat forward, which will give you more boot space in the back. And then I can slide them back as well, and you can control both sides the same. So this one has buttons on this side as well, and they all adjust like so. But good thing is the size of this car again, because it's a big car. You've got a lot of space. So I'm 6'4", I've got a good amount of headroom on this side. This is exactly where I have the seat, where I was sitting. Got really good amount of knee room. If I move to the middle, now this is what is pretty awesome, is, you know, yes, I'm a bit more upright and my knees are close to the seat, but I've got plenty of headspace. And with 2 adults next to me, I'm still comfortable. Like, there's still a good amount of room in the car. So it's a big car, yes, but it has a good amount of space. So if you've got a big family, if you've got, you know, 6 kids and you've got mum and dad in the front, this car is an 8-seater. So you can fit 8 people reasonably comfortably in the car, which is awesome. So what Lexus have done, they've got these double glazing or dual pane windows. So you'll notice there's a little gap in between here. So what that is it's basically 2 bits of glass stuck together, and it's designed to keep the cabin much quieter on those long drives. Right, so we've made it to the front of the cabin, and probably my favorite spot within this car is just the front. And the reason being is because of this beautiful dash display that Lexus have done. The styling on the interior is just gorgeous. Like, it's such a well laid out cabin. You've got wood trim all along here. You've got wood in the center console, wood on the steering wheel, wood all along the doors. You've got black roof lining, which just looks so smart. And my favorite part to this cabin would have to be this center console. And it's just not a standard center console, it's a fridge. That's right, it's got a fridge. So, I mean, I've got water in here at the moment. I'm a good little boy, but you could fit probably 3 to 4 bottles of champagne in here. Not that I'm recommending that at all, but it is a really cool fridge, and it's massive, so plenty of storage space. So onto the rest of the cabin, we do have LED lights, which are touch. Really cool finish there. We've got a nice sunglass holder with a felt lining. The sunroof is standard on all LX570s. The downside being that it's just a small one. It's not a nice panoramic glass sunroof as you would expect in a massive car like this. But anyway, we can't have it all, can we? Onto the not so good of this cabin. This infotainment system is a nightmare to use, and you know, I've been playing around with it for a bit, so I have gotten used to it, but it just took me a while. It's not intuitive at all, very hard to use. And when you go into the menu here, you do have your options. So you've got navigation, music, radio, all the standard sort of stuff there. So it has most of the tech, but it's just very difficult to use and not intuitive whatsoever. Onto the dash display, it's quite a boring layout here. It's all analog gauges, you know, every a lot of cars now are going to all digital displays when this one is just all negative. It does look cool because it's got a lot of little gauges around it, and that does, you know, at least help it out, but it's just very, very outdated. You do have a digital display in the center here, but it is quite plain, so you can control your outside temperature. You can see what speed you're traveling in digital form. It does tell you your tire pressures of each tire, including the spare, which is a full-size spare, which is nice. But yeah, it's just such a letdown to such a stylish cabin. Moving on, it does have some good other technical features. So it's got automatic lights, automatic wipers. It's got a heads-up display as standard in the LX range. It does have blind spot monitors in the side mirrors, and if I put the car in reverse, it does have the full 360 camera, which is pretty neat, and that's standard on the LX as well. So a lot of good standard equipment, but it just lacks on this infotainment system, and it's such a letdown for the cabin. All right, guys, so here we are. We've made it finally onto the drive of the LX570 S. Before I talk about it though, I just wanted to mention and say thank you for everyone that's made it to this point in the video. I really appreciate it, and if you are happy with the content so far, if you could please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Give me a like if you like the video. Please comment if there's any feedback, anything you want to tell me. I'd love to know. Any questions you wanted to know about the cars I've reviewed so far, please just leave a comment. I'm obviously a new YouTube channel, so this is all very new for me, but I'm doing this because I love it. I really love cars. I love talking about them. So, you know, I'm doing this solely because I have a real passion for it. So if you have any feedback for me, like I said, please let me know. But I just wanted to really thank everyone for watching. Really appreciate it. I basically just want to run you through some pros and cons to the drive of this car. So let's run through all the positives of it. First thing right off the bat you notice with the LX is just how commanding you feel driving this car. Like, you feel empowered. I feel like the man driving this thing, and I feel like the king of the road, you know, because you're up high, you've got plenty of vision around the car. You can see over most of the cars around you. Like, it's a really cool feeling. And I love the comfort in this car and the quietness. It's so quiet. It's like eerie quiet, you know. It just, the sound in this car is unbelievable. Like, these dual glazing or double pane windows work a treat. The suspension really seems to soak up the larger bumps quite well. The engine is nice and quiet for a V8. You know, when you're cruising, you don't want any droning or engine noise, and it's just so quiet. You know, at the moment I'm driving along here, I'm doing 80 kilometers an hour, and the car's sitting at 1100 revs. Like, that is so low, and it's awesome. It's awesome. This 8-speed transmission does a really great job. At the moment I'm sitting in eighth gear, and it is just so nice to drive. It's a beautiful car, and I've had the pleasure of driving this car for, you know, a number of weeks now, and I just feel so comfortable with it. Another thing that I really like about it is, considering it's such a big, heavy car, it's still relatively easy to maneuver because you've got all the driving aids. You've got all these cameras that show you where you are when you're parking. You've got the blind spot monitors. You've got the adaptive radar cruise control. You know, there's a lot of good aids to the car, and I really love that about it. On to some of the negatives of the drive. While I do like the big feeling it gives you and that very empowering feeling you get driving it, there are downsides to it. Like, the steering is quite heavy. The brakes need a lot of pressure to slow down the car. You know, the comfort level is great, but the suspension has a lot of body roll. So around the corners, you know, the car's really rolling around, and you know, it's not a car you're going to go on a racetrack with, but if you ever are in a rush and you need to get somewhere fast, it's just not going to happen in the LX. You know, you've got to take your time and really focus on, you know, what you're doing and what's happening with the road ahead, because it's quite easy to come unstuck into a corner if you're just not used to how big and heavy the car is. I wish the car had more power, as I've said earlier. You know, 270 kilowatt for the weight of this car isn't bad, but it could be a lot better, and that's something I wish they did improve. But that's probably all the negatives I have about this car. Overall, I really like it. As I said, the infotainment is probably the biggest letdown in the entire car. It really could be improved, but hey, you know, no one makes a perfect car as yet, but Lexus has done a good job with this. Now I want to go off-road and show you what this car is actually designed to do. So how about we do a little bit of off-roading onto a nice little grass paddock and see what this thing can do, hey? So I've found a nice little paddock here, and it's got a steep little decline, so I can show you how a few of the off-road features work here. So first thing I want to show you is how to operate this crawl control. So first thing we want to do is put the car on a neutral. Then we want to put the car into low range, and you can only go into low range when you're in neutral. So then it will come up on the screen that the vehicle stability control is turned off and the pre-crash system's unavailable. Now you do have a lot of different terrains you can change between. So at the moment it's on rock and dirt, but you can select it into just rock, or you can do mogul, you can do loose rock, and you've also got mud and sand. So a lot of different options there. For now, we're just going to go into rock and dirt. And the next thing we want to do, once we've done that, so this switch here will control that. Next thing we want to do is go to the on-off button. So this turns the crawl control on or off. So we want to turn this on. Now, the next thing you want to do is put the car into drive. So once you've turned that on and you've gone into drive, it will display that the crawl is activated. So now we can adjust the speed using this switch here. So the crawl's on. I want to put it at a low speed. And now we go down the decline. Here we go. Alright, so the car's doing its thing. It's applying the brakes, integrating the ABS lockup into it as well, and here we go. Woo! Just does it so easily. There we go. Easy done. There you have it, the 2020 Lexus LX570 S. What an awesome car. And the big question is, did it live up to that $184,000 price tag that Lexus is asking for it? In my opinion, it sure did. When you compare it to the likes of the Mercedes GLS, with all the features that this car has, you're spending close to $200,000. If you compare it to the Range Rover Vogue with all the features this car offers, you're spending nearly $300,000. So it is very, very good value for money. The BMW X7 with all the features this car has, it's similar money, you know? The Lexus have priced this car very well in the luxury car market for a four-wheel drive SUV, but it does need some improvements like I mentioned. The chassis needs to be updated. It needs to go to air suspension. The infotainment needs desperate updating. So let's hope the latest LX, when it does come out, it does get all those things fixed. But overall, beautiful car. The styling is impeccable. It has looks that could kill, and I really enjoy my time in the car. So thank you everyone for watching. If you could please like and subscribe, comment if there's anything you want me to feature in the new videos. I'm happy to learn and listen from everyone. If there's anything I could improve, please let me know. But I'm loving this and I'm enjoying making YouTube videos. So Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.